Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. It is 11:30 on this beautiful Monday morning. This should be a fun video. A lot to unpack, a lot to go over, but I'm going to try to be as concise as possible and try to give you as much information as I can so you can navigate this market this week. Let's first start off kind of with the backdrop and understand what's going on. Let's jump in first to the government shutdown. It looks like they've presented information now, and it's going to the House to potentially get passed. So we could have a shutdown ending by Wednesday or Thursday, I think, best case scenario. Secondly, over the weekend, Trump announced some potential for dividend checks for tariff income that was generated by the U.S. We don't know the form of how that money is coming in, whether through tax cut or a true stimulus check. However, I find that significant in the fact that usually, or at least in precedent during COVID and prior administrations, that when the stimulus checks hit, more liquidity, it jumps into the stock market, it jumps into crypto, or at least in the last case it did. And I think that's going to kind of fuel a little bit of more of a rally. At least that's my thesis. More money usually gets thrown right back into the market. So how you feel about that dividend, that's here nor there. But I do think if that really does come to fruition, that should be another catalyst for the market. So hopefully we get some shutdown economic data starts to come in. Here's my theory on that, though. I want to be want to make this very clear that as data comes out once the shutdown ends, I think it's not going to be very good. That'll be short-lived. I do think that'll impact the market in a short-lived sense, but just be prepared for that. That when that data comes out, I can't imagine it's going to be that great. How it affects the market, well, as swing traders, we shift and bend to the information that we have. So let's jump into what we have here so we could get the most out of this video and really navigate this market this week. So I posted a pretty specific video on Friday that talked about the market was at an inflection point. And what I mean by inflection point is this is your inflection point, the 50-day moving average. This was a very strong area of support. And on a technical side, I thought it needed to find the support here and bounce. I thought that would fuel furthermore upside, and I thought that would be constructive and healthy. I posted a chart on my Instagram. For those of you that are not on my Instagram, you can look me up. It's just J Ben Ruby, and you can go on my Instagram page. I posted that chart on Friday on a story, and I said this was a major support level. And it closed on Friday right above it, strong, and it also had a hammer candle. A hammer candle is usually a bullish sign. I mean, people beat it to the term, but what I noticed is this volume, which you could see here, was pretty high, relatively speaking. It was above average volume. It was on a hammer candle, closed above. Hard to be bearish when you had those signs. So at the close of the market, I did buy some stuff. I just thought with that, and then also the potential of a government shutdown coming to an end, though it could be a buy the rumor, sell the news, but here nor there. I said this was an inflection point. Below here, I would have become increasingly more bearish, but the close was strong today. Then we have the uprising, and now we're above the 21. Over the 21 in the major moving, the NASDAQ, which I consider the holy grail of indexes, were above the 21. That to me was significant. I now have put my foot back on the gas and now I'm on green. Again, I could shift and move with the information that's provided. Fortunately, I think if you've watched my videos last week and the week before, I think if you've taken heed to some of these things, you've probably managed to navigate pretty well. And that's great. We can't always hit it out of the park, but if you've managed to do that, you've probably navigated pretty well. All right, so you saw the NASDAQ. I'm going to spare you on the S&P. The chart looks exactly the same. Above the 21, hammer candle at the 50, which is great. For the overall sentiment. Bitcoin looks like it might have carved out a potential low, a temporary low. I did admittedly buy a little bit of Bitcoin on Friday afternoon. And then I added some more on Saturday. The tariff check dividend really got me thinking more money in the market, probably more upside when it comes to Bitcoin, or at least precedent was set. I'm not saying I'm not advocating to go out and buy Bitcoin. I'm personally a long-term believer in this, and I take opportunities to buy. I saw that as a temporary low. It almost looked like this isn't a double bottom, but so anyways, here I'm not advocating to buy, but I'm bullish on it at the moment. Gold looks like it has potentially carved out a low here. Now hanging on above the 20, above the, it's, I don't know why it's showing the 20. It really should be the 21. Above this should be an engagement again to start looking back at gold names. I'm not there yet. I want to see confirmation from the top of this wick, which is where my cursor is. I want to see the top of this wick break. If it breaks there, I become increasingly bullish on gold. At that point, you could look at trading the miners. Barrick was one of them that you could put. Well, Barrick is up huge today. They had earnings, so this is not one, not one to take. But there's a bunch of them. You know, Harmony was always the one that I always liked, which was the South African miner. I traded this quite a bit, gave back some profits, but I did make a pretty decent penny on this. Above the 21, that would be active, so that could be on your watch list for the week. But all right, let's talk about what worked and what didn't work this week, or I should say last week, and what you should be looking at. I'm going to start off with Lily. I called this one out the week before. I think Lily's shaping up to be actionable. Came down on Friday, had a hammer candle right at the 5, and it bounced and having a great day. This is still actionable. I'm still riding this trend. I think you can, anytime it comes down to this 5, as long as it doesn't break the trend, that would be a go sign to buy. I did add shares on Friday at the close, that hammer candle. And that's what I say to people, you don't have to be scared to buy shares. It's up like that. It came down right below that on Friday, but then towards the end of the back end of the day, carved out a low and then has the top, the hammer over that 5. That to me was a true buy. So I did buy that. IMNM was also setting up really nice for me. I got into this last week, today up 5.5%. So that's great. Converging moving averages looks good. This is actionable this week. It's still in the box. You want to see a break out of this box at the top of 1792, which I do think it will get there. That should have some clear skies. So I think that's actionable this week. Again, this is not financial advice. This is just for educational purposes only. Bloom Energy. Oops, sorry there. Bloom Energy, you guys know my thesis. We are in huge demand for energy. This is more of a investment for me than a trade, but I think this is going way, way, way higher. And I think this is actionable today, pulling back to the 5, or it was at the 5, opened up and just blew through it. Hammer candle below the 5, but above the 21-day moving average. You have to like this relative strength to the entire market. And it gave you an opportunity on Friday to get in. I did also buy some shares on Friday before the close, and Bloom Energy is doing well, and this is probably one of my favorite setups at the moment. And I think it's just going higher. Earnings are behind it. Multiple catalysts coming into place, so I think you got a good setup there with Bloom. Whether you take it or not, again, I want to talk about one. I got a lot of slack, man. Open Door had earnings Thursday, and it was down 30% after hours. And everybody was like texting me, "Oh man, this that." I told everybody, you got to calm down, like relax. Like this is a thesis story for me. This is an investment, not a trade. If you can't stand the drawdowns when you have conviction, then you're not made to invest. Much different than a trade, differentiating the two. Obviously, I'm a big proponent of setting stop losses on your trades, but so if you look back at the case study of Carvana, Carvana had multiple drawdowns in its time where it got back and it recovered, right? 30% after hours down, opened up in the morning, 25% on Friday, and recovered and finished green. That was a 27% turnaround in a day, and now today up 15%. For all of you that were giving me shit on this day, relax, let it breathe, have a thesis, have some conviction, let the stock come to you. It's gonna give you an entry point. I'm not gonna go into the whole reason this stock went up, but I'm a big believer in this. I'm gonna go on record for it. I think this is going higher. The warrants that were issued by the company, just genius by Kaz, who was the previous CEO at Shopify. He issued warrants. I'm not going to dig into this too much, but understand that the warrants, the way he issued them, is they're dividends on strike prices for the people that are holding the stock. And what it does is it incentivizes short sellers to get out, and because you can't borrow shares. So my thesis remains intact. I think this is going much higher. I think this is set up to go this week. So that's great. Um, Palantir. So Palantir was one that I probably got wrong, admittedly. Friday, instead of buying, which I should have bought here, I actually trimmed half my shares of PLTW. I still have, I probably have like a 35% position of what I had Monday. I have trimmed quite a bit. I increasingly bullish. I will not buy here, though. I will not buy here. I need to see how this closes today and tomorrow. But if it closes above the 21 day and it follows above this wick, I will increase my PLTW position once again, but I need to see confirmation. I'm not there yet, and I'm not going to buy now. It's up. PLTW up now. This is not accurate. It's actually, I don't know why this is showing this. It's actually up 8% right now. So yeah, I'm gonna wait to see how that goes. But for all of you that are holding this, I think this is a hold, not a sell, not a buy. It's going to set itself up to be a buy. Just let it give you confirmation. I got a dividend coming to me next week, so that's always, or tomorrow. That's always great. Uh, Michael Burry, who came out with a short, he's now like warning people, and this guy hasn't tweeted in a year, 2 years. Now he's tweeting and saying, warning people, and now because he disclosed his shorts. I mean, this the manipulation is just such bullshit. Oh, excuse my language. All right, bros. So, bros, I got back into it. Talking a little bit out of the side of my mouth on that. I got stopped out. I got stopped out on Thursday, and I got back in on Friday. I took a floater position, so that's basically means I didn't take a full position. I took a half a position just because I wanted to get my beak wet here. So far, it's working out. I'm up 6% on it. I'm back in it. But as I mentioned in my videos, I've never got this right. I'm not advocating to buy this. I will tell you, though, if it gets above these and it breaks out here, this would be the activation point where I say you could safely buy it. That's confirmation. That's when you buy it. Don't buy it now. I took this more as a trade, floater position. Anyways, Hood. Hood I bought. I think I bought Hood Thursday. I bought Hood Thursday. Friday, I added shares right before the close because it finished literally at the tip of that 50 hammer candle as well. That wasn't a hammer candle, but it finished right at the 50, and I'm up now 2.5%. I think this is actionable. I do think you could take this, and this is setting up nicely for the week. All right. What else do we got? I think that's it on the long list, on the upside list. That's it for me for Monday. I think you've got some good setups. I'm going to go on to the short side now. So, I mentioned on the short side, you've got to be quick. And you could play shorts with either puts or you could short stocks. I typically short stocks the traditional way. I sell short. However, I will do puts. If you guys venture to try puts, please be fast with it. You got to move quick. Look, I'm going to give you an example. I did IONQ. I took IONQ on a short, and I got out there. And I mentioned this on my video Friday. The stock was down like 10%. I started to see it roll back up, and I got out, and I lost three. Well, I didn't lose. I gave back 3% out of the 10. I got 7% profit on like a day trade. Now, good, right? Worked out. Here's the thing with these stocks. They're going to go up and then they're going to get slammed down because of short sellers. You could see the short float, not terrible, 14%. Well, I mean, it's still high, but in any case, like today, I obviously could have held it a little bit more. And the right thing would have been is at the end of the day to get back into my short. But this is going to give you an opportunity to short the shit out of it in the future. This will present an opportunity for you. So please put this on your short list. It's not financial advice, just some education purposes there. Okay. Let's see what else we got on the short list. Rigatoni, Rigetti, whatever the hell it's called. Absolutely no earnings. Um, this is going to be such a beautiful short. Look for it. I would even say, let's see if it comes up here and gets slammed down. That should be on your short list. This could be actionable in the next day or so to take it. Rigetti is one that if I see it trade up today, I'm going to look to see when it gets some. It's right below the 5. I don't think it's going to get past there. So that should be on your short list. Um, that's about it for the short list. That's it. Pretty straightforward video this week. I think you've got some good setups. Um, the shutdown should end Wednesday or Thursday. We should get data. Be flexible though, because you're going to have some volatility on the government shutdown, and you're going to really have to make sure that you manage your risk as well. All right, that's about it, guys. Hope you guys have a great week. I'll be back on Wednesday with another video. Enjoy the trading.